Hi guys, I want to go over your final um, annotated bibliography just to review what I posted and then give you some other insight on how I'm putting things together. I noticed that some people were having trouble with the spacing and some of the sources too, so be careful of that, of what you're using. I'm going to share the screen here and we're going to talk about using the sources that I posted for you. So I'm going to go in here to your essays and major projects and down here to the rough draft of your annotated bibliography. Oh, that's just a submission. Let's go back to the actual assignment. So here's your annotated bibliography assignment. So you want to make sure that you have your name, my name, English 2101, and then the date, which would be the actual final due date on this, which is tomorrow. So it would be 3 April 2020. The title can be Annotated Bibliography. And notice how you have your citations here are each, sorry about that. Each of the citations are actually double spaced, and then you have your annotation here is single spaced. And anytime you're borrowing information or making a specific reference to something that's in the article, you're going to put the page number there. And make sure your page numbers here correspond with your page numbers up here. You're going in alphabetical order, and there should be a space in between your tie to. So here I put the article establishes the foundation of Shakespeare's education and use of mimicry and imitation in his further writing. So I'm pulling out the things out of this article that directly relate to what I'm going to be writing about. Here, you see there's a space, just one space in between the end of that paragraph and your next citation. So make sure you have that as well. If you are quoting material, make sure that you code it correctly. Periods go on the outside of the parentheses. Otherwise, periods always go inside. And I know that has changed over the years, so just make sure that you have that taken care of. And oops, here I see an error. That should be italicized there because it's the title of a book. And I've got several pieces here where I'm citing from the pages of that particular piece. Again, looking at the content here and making sure that you have your citation single spaced, and then your citations double spaced, and then your annotation and reflection piece sentence are all single spaced. When you're at the top of the page, you do want to put over here, obviously these are the instructions up here, but you still do want your actual heading. So let's open up a Word document here, just so we can look at what we want to do. So we're going to have, I'm just going to make a blank document. Remember, you can always do and you're going to write your name here. So I'm going to use my name and instructor Brust, but that's kind of weird. English, you can just use the abbreviation there, 21101, and the due date would be 3 April 2020. All right, so when we look at this right now, we have I hope you can see this, but let me make sure that when we're sharing screens here, I want to share this other screen with you, new share. So we're going to share this one here. Oops. All right. So here's a new screen. We're going to focus on the Word document here. And if you notice from the very beginning, it's in the wrong font. So we're going to go ahead and change that. We're going to highlight that. We're going to change to Times New Roman. See, that's already in our queue. Then I also need to change the line spacing. So we're going to come here and do 2. But oftentimes there's a problem with that. So I'm going to go over here to layout, and we're going to check our margins, normal 1-inch margins. And if you notice here, the spacing, it says before and after. Now these are both 0. A lot of times it will default, the after will default, sorry, to 8. And that's what you're seeing in your papers. And when I say before and after, change the before and after, that's what I'm talking about. So make sure that that says 0 there. Then we're going to actually insert our heading and page number. Okay, so right here we want header or footer, but you can just do the page number. It's easier to do it this way. So add page number, and then it's going to give you the choice. In this case, we're going to change it to the top of the page, the right-hand side, and we're going to click OK. Now it automatically does it there for you, but you need to format that because A, it's in the wrong font, and you need to put your last name. So this should be on every page. You got to have a space in there. Then you have to highlight it, go back to home, and change that again to Times New Roman. And then you're actually going to change that to 11, okay? And that your header will be there and on every page. So if I want to go back into my text here, click out of the header. Sorry, my computer's a little slow this morning. So I hit escape, get out of the header, and then I realize I've got a page here. I'm going to insert another page so I can move on to the next page, right? And you notice automatically my page number shows up here. So when I'm talking about your full MLI heading, you have this heading here, and you have your last name and the page number here. It's important on the annotated bibliography, but it's much more important when we're talking about the final paper, when you have more than 2 pages, and that's really what it's for. Although things have changed a bit with the printing on the front and back sides of the pages and normality, but you really do need to have those. So if someone is looking at it or grading it, they can see that. And make sure that you're submitting the actual document. Some of you are copying and pasting and putting into Blackboard, which was fine before when you were turning a hard copy into me. But now that I'm grading the electronic copy, I do need you to make sure that you're submitting a document. So let me know if you're having some issues with that, because unfortunately, I can't submit a document from my end because I don't have the student view, and I'm not a student in any class where I have to submit it. So let me know what you're having difficulties with submitting to Blackboard, because I know that it will mess up the formatting, and I need your formatting to be correct. That's why I want you additionally to share the document with me in OneDrive so I can make sure that you have all of that correct. If anybody wants, I did make comments on your annotated bibliography rough drafts. I did grade those this morning. And if you have any questions about anything on those, let me know, and I can go into your actual Word document if you shared it with me, and we can chat back and forth on the actual paper itself if you have questions about that. Or you can always screenshot what you're looking at, or if you want to come on here, you can actually share your document with me live, and we can go through that. So those are a couple of different options. Today is the first tutorial that I'm going to be doing based upon your topics yesterday. I'll probably wait until next week to go over review of the stories, and we'll work on that. I actually ordered a whiteboard so I can write some notes behind me, and we can film that too. Handwriting is easier for me. It's easier for me to think and write than type and write, so sorry I'm old. But let me know what other questions you have. This was just kind of a quick run through on your information. So I want to go back to the example that I gave you. Oh, one other thing. So if you're typing, let's go back up to this page here. So we're going to type annotated. In this case, you can use annotated bibliography for your title. That's fine for this particular assignment because that's what it is. So you only want one extra space, and then you want to go back to that left flush margin. And so I'm going to actually just copy this here. Now, just one second. Let's use this one here. Sorry, give me just 1 second. I'm trying to move the screen here. Okay. So I'm going to copy this citation in here. Again, sorry, my computer's slow. All right, so if you notice when I copied it, it actually is the wrong font. So I have to go back in here. It's in Inherit, which is copying a different code. So I have to change that back to Times New Roman. And then again, it actually changed some of my content here. So I have to change this and go back and make this double spaced. If you're having trouble getting that indent here, all you have to do is put the cursor here. Now this one won't do it, but let's see. Let's see if I can do it here. There we go. If I hit enter, then now I can hit tab and it will give you the indent that you need. And again, remember there's just a single space in here, but you have equal spaces between annotated bibliography, your first citation, the citation is double spaced, and then your paragraph here is single spaced. What you want to be talking about in each citation, which I looked over most of yours and most of you did a fairly good job about that, is that you're talking about particularly the pieces, the information that's important to your research that you're pulling out of that article and focusing on the details that you think are most pertinent to what you're going to be writing about. And again, ending with that, this article establishes the foundation of Shakespeare's education and use of mimicry and imitation in his further writing. So the pieces out of that article are exactly what I'm going to apply to my research. Don't be general. Don't just kind of say, oh, well, it's about evil and that's good. You need to make sure that you're writing specifically how pieces of this article are going to help establish the point that you're trying to make. And that is what we're talking about as far as your annotated bibliography goes. You want to definitely look at all of the different pieces that will come together to substantiate your paper. Now, that being said, I'd like to go back and look at some of the sources too. So some of you are having some issues with looking up sources. So we're going to go back to this, to Blackboard here, and actually I'm going to go back into KentLink, and we're going to talk about some of the other sources that you can use. So we're going to go under the Student tab, go down to Academic Resources, and look at, here we have our library. Now, if we're looking for a print source and we decide we want a chapter, you're going to go into the KentLink Library Catalog, which now they've opened up the Library of Congress online database for free text. So that is available to all Kent students now. That wasn't before. So there's a ton of actual print materials of books, chapters of books, things like that, that you are welcome to use and are free. We were looking up some information the other day with a couple of students, and there's two new things that are happening on the library. If you look right here, so actually when you just go into the library website, it prompts you with a chat room to ask the librarian about how to look for things. Now remember, you have your KentLink for books, and then you have your database A to Z. But then remember, you can actually, this will search everything. So Discovery, you can just type in your category. So I want to type in, I'm going to just look at Shakespeare's, I can't spell today evidently, Shakespeare's storms, right? So the concept of the tempest, which is one of his plays, but also the fact that he always uses storms. And I spelled it stroms. It's here early, guys. Storms. Okay. So then I'm going to search that category. No results were found. So then I'm going to change this to Shakespeare. And actually, I'm going to go into my Boolean terms. So I'm going to go down on that next. I'm going to make William Shakespeare here, and I'm going to write storms. And let's see what happens here. And actually it already came up on the bottom there. The Contentious Store, an eco-critical and performance history of King Lear, Flaws in the Science of Sex Differences, The Storm and Sea, Political Aesthetics of Shakespeare by Christopher Pye. So you have quite a bit. Judith Weir, she's really great, actually. I don't think anybody's doing necessarily this idea, but you have a ton of information that we're just using from Discovery, so you didn't even have to go in to any of those separate research databases. It'll actually pull from everything right here in Discovery, which is phenomenal. Now I want to go back again one more time. We're going to go back to the actual library page. Kent University Libraries. We're going to go back to that page, and I'm going to actually go over here to databases A through Z. LibGuides. This one is really, really important because the librarians have actually clumped all the databases together that are the most important for you by subject area. So I'm going to click by subject, and then I'm going to go down here to English Studies and Literature. And there's Tammy right there. She's awesome. And you can click on here, her name too. Don't forget, she is the English librarian. She is awesome. She was so nice and did our tour. But she has tons of information, and she's online pretty regularly. But if you look here, you've got ESL Library Guide, English Studies Databases, Jane Austen, Children's Literature, and I think one of you is actually focusing on the children's stories. Maybe two of you, but maybe both. There are two of you that are focusing on that. So these are all actual databases that are supported just for literary studies. And you can look at theirs, they are, you know, you can do history here too. I believe there's biography. There are throughout a couple of them. Or you can go back to just our university libraries, and we're going to go to our A to Z list. And I know that, you know, you've got all kinds of things in here you can just look through, and they have just bibliography website. There was one here I wanted to show you. So here's American English Literature, Poetry, and Drama and Prose. This is all about criticisms and articles that are from 1700s through the 20th century. A lot of African American poetry, a lot of slave narratives. This one would be a really good one for that. So that's a good database here. National Biography Online. So that's another one if you're looking for biographical materials about your author. You have Ancestry too. If you're doing biography, don't forget we have access to Ancestry for free, and you can actually look up these authors. They will give you their background history through Ancestry. Anthropology also. And there's another one, Art and Architecture, which art does include literature, so there's a lot of stuff in there. Archives of Sexuality and Gender, if you're talking about gender studies. Art bibliographies, and there's another one that you have Oxford Reference to. Let's go into that. I'm going to go back here to O. So you have Oxford Reference and Oxford Bibliographies, which will give you a list. So here, Oxford Bibliographies Online is really great. If you're looking for, trying to find good sources for your topic, you can put that in, and then it will give you all of the sources that are on that particular topic. So all the credible sources, it'll make a list for you, and then you can go through that list and pick and choose which ones you want, and you know those are going to be credible sources and they're going to be directly related to your topic. So that was a really, really fast run through of you utilizing the databases, and our time is almost up here. So I wanted to just encourage you to ask questions, and I will be online most of the day today. Remember that your paper's not due till midnight tomorrow night, and I did bump up those stories, so none of the discussion questions, even though I did post both of them, you can push that off until Monday at midnight. And we're going to come back together on Monday to talk about those stories. So please be prepared for your stories. It is going to count as participation grade for that day, but also want to check your knowledge on whether or not you read. But I understand that most of you are trying to get through these articles and trying to read the research, so that's fine. We will push the reading off until Monday, okay? Have a great day, and please let me know if you have questions.